Welcome to our Monday, November 15th board meeting. If you'd please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I just would like to remind everyone there will be 2 opportunities for you to address the board. If you'd like to speak to the board, we ask that you sign up on the sign-up sheets with all information that we are requesting. If it is not filled in, we will not be calling you up. With that, we will go on to our approval, deletions, additions. Mrs. Mucha.
Thank you very much. There are no deletions or additions to the agenda, so we're asking for your approval as it was presented in your packets.
Move to approve the agenda.
Thank you. We have a motion by Dr. Medlin.
Second.
Second by Ms. Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we'll move on to our correspondence. Mr. Marshall.
Madam President, there's no correspondence to report on this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to our liaison committee updates. Mr. Marshall.
Again, there's nothing to talk about on the Personnel Interview Committee as of this point.
Thank you. Mrs. Kelly.
Nothing to report this evening.
Dr. Medlin.
Nothing to report, thank you.
Dr. Malco.
Yes, I'd like to report on the Lake Central Education 5K that we had on November 6th. We had a great turnout. It was a fun event. We had great weather, although it was a little bit nippy. And thank you, Mr. Marshall, for announcing that at the previous meeting when I was not here. And I wanted to clarify to everyone, when I'm not here on a Tuesday night, it's not because I'm in a choir singing, because that's a part that can easily be replaced when you have a voice like mine. But I am the accompanist for the choir, so it kind of requires that I'm there and to be attentive to that responsibility. So I don't take this job lightly, but when they get changed to Tuesday night, that creates a conflict for me. And I do believe that the race committee for the Education Foundation will be here next meeting, the meeting in December, right, Mr. James? And they will give a report on the race because they had a wonderful experience and they wanted to share it with everyone.
Dr. Malco,
Yes.
as the accompanist, is it piano or organ?
Oh,
Both?
both, but
Very
piano's
good.
my favorite, yes. And then legislative, I really have nothing other than, I'm not liking what I'm hearing in the news. And maybe it's in other places, I'm not sure, but I just dread the thought of political parties getting involved in school board positions. I think that is the one thing that we as a democracy have protected against for years and years and years and years, ever since Horace Mann made public ed or established the first school. So I certainly hope that doesn't come to fruition. And this is American Education Week, and American Education Week is to honor public education. And if you remember years ago, it was only the wealthy that were receiving an education. So it was through the establishment of public education that the doors opened for all individuals. So it's a wonderful week to celebrate, and thanks to everyone who has supported that over the years. And that's it.
Thank you. And I have nothing on either of my committees. So with that, we'll move to our official school board business topics consent agenda. Mrs. Mucha.
Thank you very much. I am asking for approval of the minutes from the regular board meeting of November 2nd, the special board meeting of November 8th, and also approval of the claims payroll and extracurricular expenditures.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Mr. Marshall,
Second.
second by Dr. Malco. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We do have one person signed up to speak for our action items, but correct me if I'm wrong, do we have curriculum on our action items tonight? No. So, Mr. Majka, we're going to have to wait until the end of the meeting to call you up because it's not an action item. So we will call you up at the end for public comments. So with that, we'll move on to our official school board business topics, regular agenda. Mrs. Mucha on behalf of Dr. Baracco.
Thank you. I am asking for permission for the professional leave request put in by Dr. Veracco that's in your packet.
Move to,
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Mrs. Kelly,
second.
second by Dr. Medlin. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Also in your packet is a schedule for this next year's Board of Education meeting dates, and I'm asking for your approval for those dates also.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Marshall,
Second.
second by Mrs. Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll move right into our Director of Human Resources Personnel.
Thank you. We're asking for recommending that the following personnel changes and transfers and appointments be approved, please.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Mrs. Kelly,
Second?
second by Mr. Marshall. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. I also have a professional leave request that was in your packet. I'm asking for your approval for that.
Move to approve the leave requests.
We have a motion by Dr. Medlin,
Second.
second by Mrs. Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to our Director of Primary Education, Dr. Bracy.
Good evening, President Sues and board members. I am coming before you tonight seeking your approval for the professional leave request you have received in your packets.
Move to,
We
I'm
have-
sorry.
We have a motion by Dr. Malco,
Second?
second by Mr. Marshall. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. I would also like to keep you abreast of the grants we have either submitted or have been approved for. Our High Ability Grant was approved last month. This grant allows us to focus on the high ability programming with the goal of accelerating and enriching academic achievement. Our grant for this school year allows us to replenish our COGAT and Iowa testing. It affords time for teachers to plan for high ability curriculum. It provides tuition support for teachers who are seeking high ability licensing, and it provides us with the funds to purchase novels, math books, and other materials for the high ability classrooms. Recently, we purchased our COGAT and Iowa test as our kindergarten, second, and fifth grade students are scheduled to begin testing on Monday, November 29th. COGAT is a tool used to assess all kindergarten, second, and fifth grade students and is intended to estimate their learned reasoning and problem-solving abilities through a battery of verbal and nonverbal test items. The results indicate whether a child qualifies for services either in our high ability classes or in our high ability classes in either reading and ELA or math, English, which is also reading only, math only, or neither area. Approximately 2,000 students will be assessed starting November 29th. Parents have already been informed by the principals. Once the results have been released, parents will receive a letter indicating one of three results. The student will be placed in the high ability program next year. The student will undergo further testing to determine proper placement, or he or she will remain in the general education setting. It is also noted that we would like to remind parents it's okay if their child does not qualify for the high ability program at this time. Students will test again in grades 2 and 5, which gives them more time to grow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
General question, Dr. Bracy. I might catch you unawares on this number, so don't feel badly. Do you happen to have a good handle on the percentage of our students that may be in the program, not down to the exact number?
I have the exact number.
Pardon?
I have the exact number. So currently, 19.3% of our students are in the high ability program.
19 point,
19.3.
that's
Yes.
excellent, thank you.
And that's from first all the way through high school.
Oh, and that was going to be my question. So they start in kindergarten. These are those students that stay with it all the way through high school?
Correct. And you know, in high school, it's not called high ability. In high school, it's more of the AP classes.
Right, right. Okay.
Very
And then,
good.
and
Thank-
then,
You're welcome.
will we get a report sometime on, maybe that goes to Mrs. Novak, on the AP, the number, I remember that Mr. Sean Begley used to give us a report on AP and scores and everything, or numbers. Will we receive that information? Okay, okay. Yeah, I know the last 2 years have been kind of weird with all that data. So are you expecting, or what are you seeing? This makes me think of student preparation, of course, when I hear that you're going to be do student assessments. So are we seeing that our kindergarten, and I know this is kind of a crazy question in a way, but are you anticipating good scores from students in K2 and 5, even though they've been out of school settings?
Correct, that's the hope. But again, if we see that a child is struggling, or if we see that they need enrichment, we're addressing those issues at each building. So we really won't know until we've tested every child whether or not, the numbers are where they normally are, or whether we need some more assistance for them. We really won't know.
Right, and of course, the numbers are really not that important. The importance is where each child falls, and are they getting the education they need, so.
Yes. And the most important thing is that we're meeting them where they are. We need to make sure that's what we're doing. We're not worried about whether they're high ability. We need
Right.
to make sure we're meeting them exactly where they are so they can continue to grow.
Absolutely, and doing the interventions as necessary.
Absolutely.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to our Director of Secondary Education, Mrs. Castaneda.
Thank you. For my first item tonight, I am seeking your approval for the professional leave requests that were in your packet.
Motion to approve?
We have a motion by Mrs. Kelly,
Second?
second by Mr. Marshall. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion passes.
Thank you. And for my second item, I am seeking your approval for the field trip requests as presented.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Mrs. Kelly,
Second?
second by Mr. Marshall. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll move right on to our Director of Business Services, Mr. James.
Thank you. My first time is I seek your approval for the professional leave requests that were in your board packet.
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Malko,
Second.
second by Dr. Medlin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next, I just want to talk a little bit about the annual teacher appreciation grant that all school districts across,
Microphone.
that all school districts across Indiana get.
Yeah, could you lift the microphone up, or it's hard to hear you up here?
Is that better?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So in this biannual state budget, there's what's called the Teacher Appreciation Grant that has been in the budget for many years. We're getting that this year again and next year. Those allocations have not been allocated out yet to school districts yet. Usually sometime here in November, and then we pay that out to our teachers. We do the calculations of how the distribution would be, and then we try to pay that. We do pay that out to our teachers in December. We try to do it on a separate pay between our two regular paychecks. In 2017, the state legislators said that, well, only people who are in a classroom are allowed to be paid this additional stipend from the grant. As a community and the district, there are certain positions that were in essence carved out: guidance counselors, deans, school psychs, social workers, ed tech trainers, administrators, assistant tech coordinators, all these certificated members. And since then, we have always decided to give a stipend to all those other people for the hard work that they do to achieve that, and use education fund money for it. So I'm here tonight to ask you for us to do the same thing. Now, usually I say these are the amounts and these are the amounts for each people, except we don't have the money yet, and I can't tell you, I don't know what those amounts would be. But with the way the board meetings are falling, and we're not meeting again until December 13th, there's a chance that I would really like, if this money comes in here in November, there's a chance we might be able to pay it out prior to the next board meeting. And if the board agrees, I would, if you want to approve to give these stipends to this extra group again, this is what I would ask your approval for now. And then my plan would be at the next board meeting, I would give you a list of those people with the dollar amount, and you can then retroactively, in essence, approve the specific dollar amounts. But I would if the board wants to take the same action we've always done, then I would rather pay those people at the same time we're paying everybody else. So that's the grant update. Hopefully we'll get it soon, but so I seek your approval to pay the extra compensation to those groups as noted in your board packet, and if it happens to happen before the next board meeting.
I'd like to make motion to approve the director's recommendation.
We have a motion by Mr. Marshall.
I will second that.
We have a second by Dr. Malco.
And you know, this is a silly question, Mr. James, but just bear with me.
Sure.
I know it's okay with State Board of Accounts that we don't say a specific amount now, but that we,
And that's why, instead of just saying yes, that's why I would want to bring it back again at the next meeting, once we have those announced, that you can actually approve those specific dollar amounts for those specific people.
and you're anticipating that it would be approximately the same amount of money that we had last time? You have no idea?
All things being considered, you know, the allocation at the state level was the same in the budget.
Okay.
How that trickles down to all school districts, you know, you really can't tell. So it's probably the same ballpark, but, you know, until we crunch the numbers and find out what allocation is and how many eligible people are in our pool, I won't know exactly for sure. But generally, it's similar amounts that we've had in the past.
And do we use the same procedure for deciding it's highly effective? and
Absolutely.
effective?
Yes, and
Okay.
just to tell the other board members, some of the new members, just a little history. State law requires that there's a 25% differential in the amount for effective and highly effective amounts. It's in the code. So we do a calculation to determine what that would be to the penny for our staff members, so.
Call for a vote.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. And then my final item is to seek your approval for the donations that were in the board packet.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mrs. Kelly.
Second that, it's, again, very generous of
Very.
our students and family members.
Absolutely.
Yes, and we have a second by Dr. Malco, and any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
So with that, we'll move on to our public comments, and our first one will be Ryan Majka. We ask that when you come up, that you please state your name and address. And just want to remind everyone that public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person, 30 minutes total. When we're at the 30-minute mark, I'll ask the board if it wants to extend the public comments portion. If we choose to extend it, we will do that after each 30-minute mark. So thank you.
So I'm Ryan Micah. My address is 11440 78th Court Street, St. John, Indiana.
Thank you.
So I wanted to talk about the curriculum, a stronger curriculum. And so I wanted to share with you our state constitution, what the state constitution law says about our education. Article 8, Section 1, knowledge and learning generally diffused throughout a community, being essential to the preservation of a free government. It shall be the duty of the General Assembly to encourage, by all suitable means, a morale, intellectual, scientific, and horticulture improvements, and provide by law for the general and uniform system of common schools wherein tuition shall be without charge and equally open to all. And so, my recommendation is things to add. We should highly focus on debates in our classrooms, and these kids should be learning about real estate.
Excuse me, what did you just say, highly focused on what?
Debates on any kind of issues, no matter what the issue is. Just general. This is all general. Real estate, taxes, all kind of taxes, investing, the stock market, because there's different taxes. You got your regular yearly taxes, and when you invest, you even have different tax forms and such and such. Law and federal state constitution, that's very important. I have these two, and every American should own this and defend these rights because, we need to defend freedom. That's part of the law. And, to protect our future from tyranny. So, and also the real history, especially our world wars, and have a great understanding of, World War I, World War II, or Civil War. It was all miraculous from my perspective. I watched it on the History Channel. I felt like I learned more from the History Channel than what I learned in school about that. And then more than one financial outlook. We have this idea that we're supposed to go to college, get a car, and live outside our means and all this debt. So saving money and not living in debt, being free, and not having to rely on the government. So we should want to raise our kids to be lions and leaders and not sheep and having to be dependent on other people or other institutions, especially if we thrive for democracy in this country. And one other point that I wanted to point out was morale in this country.
15 seconds.
Huh?
15 seconds.
And so I just want to share one more thing. Foundation of morality, I just want to share this one last thing, should be love. And love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered.
Time.
It keeps no record of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but
Thank you.
rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts.
Angela Spencer?
Always perseveres, will never fail.
Thank you.
Way shorter. Angela Spencer, address is 9475 Genevieve Drive, St.
Thank
John,
you.
Indiana. I'm here to you tonight to discuss your action plan. I've seen more than half of this board outside shopping, in shopping malls, maskless, doing everyday activities that our kids should also be enjoying. And you guys are masking them up. So if you guys are wearing no masks out and you guys are capable of bringing in this COVID into our school system, what is your action plan? I get it. I've been sitting here watching these school board meetings for the past few months, and it's honestly embarrassing that we're all standing here in masks, but yet you guys are going to Target, you're going to Strax, you're going to places, you're not setting an example for our kids. As adults, we should be standing up for our kids. We should be fighting for our kids. This is an absolute embarrassment. I hate to see you guys out there, no masks on. Our poor kids are like, look, they're out shopping without masks on. So what is your game plan? What is your, you keep moving the goalposts. What is your game plan? Somebody just answer my question.
Our game plan is the same as yours, and that is to eventually unmask.
When is eventually?
Optional. When we're given that direction. When we're given
What,
that direction.
okay, let me just tell you, I'm a business owner. I have a store right across the street from Lake Central. I've been open since January. Kids have not come in with masks. I have not had one employee sick. I have not had one customer sick, and I've not had one customer call me to say, hey, Angie, you guys need to go in quarantine because I became ill, right? So if that is happening, and then you guys decide, let's take our homecoming outside with no masks on, let's cram them underneath a tent, how does that even make sense? They were on top of each other. They're climbing the poles. They're body surfing, for crying out loud. How embarrassing. When do you guys sit back and actually look at what you guys are doing and not even feel ridiculous? Critical thinking tells me I would feel absolutely like a moron right now if I was a member on this board. So what are you going to do to finally give integrity back to our kids? Let them see their smiling faces for once. These kids can't even want to date people because they can't even see the smile on their faces. They can't even understand Spanish because they can't read their teacher's
15
lips.
seconds.
So what are we going to do to finally stand up, take the masks off? It's time. It's time. You had less than 12 cases last week. This is I would not, if I were you, I would not want to
It's
show
time,
my face.
please.
Thank you.
If I could,
Jeff
if-
Kazmierczewski?
can I respond to that? I think all of us are just as frustrated as you are. Wait, just a minute. okay? It's not just a simple, like, we want to do this. You know as well as we do that the governor has us tied into all this quarantining. We know there has to be an end to this. We all think it. I go to church and I don't see anybody with a mask, and I think, we look at the football games, and there's no mask at the Purdue, Iowa, whatever football games. You know, and I do question it, and it doesn't make sense to me.
But our quarantine rate is very low, too.
Well, that's
It is.
because we have very few cases. So I think what we have to do, I think with the governor's last statement, and I may be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong, Mrs. Misha, but I believe he indicated there might be some changes coming the next time he had a news release, and I believe that's the 20th of each month. So I'm guessing that would,
Last month it came much later than the
Okay.
20th, so.
So let's just hope that they can give us something to get us out of this quagmire that we're in, that he can actually move forward and help us with this. And in between now that the vaccine is available for those people who want to use that as a mitigation factor, it would give them plenty of time to get that done. So I think,
If they so choose, yes.
I mean, I just hope that we're really near the end. Yeah, we don't like it. Absolutely, we don't like it.
So what is your action plan? We have winter formal. Let's just say this. We have winter formal coming up. This is the seniors' last winter formal. What is your action plan for that? Are seniors going? Are juniors going? Have we even discussed that?
I would think that that's something that you would want to talk
reach
over
out
with
to the-
Mrs. Novak.
To the high school, yeah, the
high
board does
school.
not,
Yeah, we don't, Mrs.
help plan
Novak
that.
would be the person to talk to about that.
Because I'm to the point now, you guys have crushed so many of these kids. Again, they can't even
Honey,
read.
it's not us. It's not us. If we could have our way.
Come on, we know that this is way past its course.
Thank you. Jeff Kazmierczewski?
How you doing, Jeff Kazmierczewski, 9475 Genevieve?
Thank you.
And I was just wondering, is there different standards for universities to do it than high schools? Are there different laws?
Somebody had said.
Because if you look at every dome, every university, every professional football field, basketball, no masks, none. Is it okay, is this good for them because they're rich and famous? They make all the money? But you guys, can you guys vote on it tonight?
Good question.
For no masks?
Good question.
Can you guys vote on it tonight?
I don't think that we should do that without
What's that?
Dr. Bracco being here.
Well, if he's not here, she's represented from Mr. Rocco.
She is, you're right.
Thank you, but no, that's,
So why can't you vote on it?
we will not be entertaining that tonight.
You can't entertain that question?
No.
Then I got one more question for Mr. James. If I have a business, all the contracts are under $50,000, there's no bids for it, correct? That's correct. Then if my business, how do I go about getting business from Lake Central? You don't know. You hand out the contracts? No, I don't. You hand out the business? Do you call the companies for the business? Nope. Who does that? Facilities director. And how do I start putting bids on that? Or do you just select certain people that are on the board for business? It's not true.
Not true.
Really?
We have many vendors that we use.
Because that'd be a conflict of interest, in my opinion.
And it could be.
It should be.
And if you're talking about Mrs. Sue, she files a conflict of interest form every single year.
I do file a conflict of interest form.
Okay, you can you file it, but you still get the business. That's a conflict of
I
interest.
have nothing to do with any of that, and I'm
Oh,
not
you don't
gonna
have nothing to
this
do with it?
dialogue. No.
You're on the board and you collect money from the school
That'd be
that
Mr.
other people
Ledger.
don't get a bid on. Correct?
I don't
I
deal
would
with
like
any of
to
those bids.
suggest that conversation happen maybe in
Well,
private. I mean,
why
let's keep
private?
moving ahead.
It's our school money.
You made your point.
Maybe
You made your
my
point.
company wants some of the business.
I totally get it.
And maybe if other companies out there don't know about the business.
Absolutely.
So why is there favoritism in that
There
then?
should not be.
Play fair then. Every time the school needs something, put it out there for every company to bid on it.
Well, I think there's a law on how much when we have to bid it, but.
Yeah, $50,000.
Reach out to Mr. Ledger.
So
Reach
since-
out to Mr. Ledger.
He's our
I tried
facilities
to.
manager. You called
It's like
him?
talking to you guys about getting masks. Nothing. You guys are chicken to vote on a mask right now. And you guys put it on Dr. Vrock because he's not here.
No.
Yeah, you did. Well, it's not something we should vote on with Dr. Vrock not here.
No. Well, that's just common courtesy.
It is?
You know, yeah,
Common
you-
courtesy, then he should be here. She's a representative of them. Vote on it. Yeah, I hear you making all these other votes and nominations and whatever up here every night. I
15
motion
seconds.
to do this. I motion to do that. I agree.
Is
But you
this
can't
not-
vote on this?
I have nothing to say to you because it's not
Ms.
going to
Mucha,
make you
can you
happy.
make a motion for optional mask tonight?
That's not on our agenda for this evening, so no, we cannot
You can add it
now.
to it tonight. It's-
We already
Not
did that at the
revising.
beginning, so we could not add that for tonight's
Just be patient and wait.
Be patient. When's enough enough?
Thank you, your
I-
time.
You say you go to
Time.
church, you wear a mask in church?
It's
Thank you.
time.
No, you don't.
Dante Grildman? Please watch your language. I agree. Excuse me?
We're okay. Let's be respectful of the board, guys, please. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My
If you
name
could
is
say your name
Dante
and
Girolman, 13042 Waterleaf Drive.
Thank you.
Dr. Malkow, I completely and utterly agree with you that school boards should not be political. I agree. Unfortunately, as what the nation is witnessing, we've been nothing but political for the last year and a half. And that's got to change. We don't need to wait on a governor. We don't need to wait on a president. We don't need to wait on anybody except for the board that has a fiduciary responsibility to do right by its constituents. And what's right by its constituents is that the majority of the people that you surveyed said, make mask optional. I don't have a problem with somebody wearing a mask. They shouldn't have a problem with me wearing a mask. And I bet if you guys made mask optional tomorrow, that less than 20% of the people would have children show up with mask on. And 80% would be very happy. And that's doing right by the people that you have fiduciary responsibility to. The other things that I'm waking up to, and I'm very upset by talking with other teachers within Lake County, is sexually explicit material that is found in our libraries. Critical race theory that is based on communism principles. The problem that I have is that federal and state are supposed to be separate to give the states the power that they have. Yet we are letting federal government micromanage you through the teachers union of the decisions that you can make and not make, which are completely and utterly incorrect. And you guys have a fiduciary responsibility to push back on that and take a stand, regardless of where your politics are, and say, no. No, you're not going to do that to us. The state and the counties have our right to govern our people the way that we're responsible to do so. And I ask you guys, not by your politics, I don't care if you're Democrat, if you're Libertarian, if you're Republican, this is a place for we the people. And what is telling you is to do right by your constituency, and they say, clean up what's in our libraries. Do what's right by your citizens that are telling you, make the mask optional. You guys can do that vote right now. You don't need to have an agenda item. It takes one motion by Robert's rules for one of you to do what's right by your people and say, I make a motion to make mask optional. Seconded by somebody that has a conscience to doing what's right. And Dr. Malkow, I completely agree with you. If you give me educators that are here that are educating based on principles that's what is right and decent by its people, I will get behind that person. But if you guys want to play politics with me, I'm going to spend the next 10 years here making sure that I replace the board with people that are qualified educators that do right by its
15
constituents
seconds.
and do right by its citizens. You guys are put on notice right now. And I'm watching and I'm listening, but I'm not the only one. There is a majority here. And you guys are standing on the side of history that's going to leave you all lacking.
Thank you. Trey Grildman?
Dante Girolman III, also known as Trey, 13042 Waterleaf Drive, St. John, Indiana.
Thank you.
I didn't really plan on speaking after the first time I spoke, but I was also probably going to bring up some of the menu items that I like in the cafeteria were taken away. I wish we could return to the traditional Bosco stick spicy chicken sandwich dichotomy. So just to bring that up. But the real reason I'm talking is because I was in the office for reasons I'm not going to disclose because I do bear personal risk in saying that I overheard this. But I heard a woman not yet identified to me at that time, later identified to me as Ms. Novak. They were discussing a set of brothers who are special education, and I don't want to go into details from what I overheard through the hall. because I don't want to like reveal who it was, but Miss Novak was actually mocking them, saying that teachers should be allowed to opt out of teaching them if they're exempt from masks for being special needs. Miss Novak also, I believe, brought up something to the effect
We're
of...
not going to personally, if we have a
No,
conversation you'd like to have
okay, I
with
see.
Mrs.
So
Mucha,
you don't
but-
call out educators who
No,
do terrible
no,
things.
that's not
Okay,
what we
okay,
do
I
at the
understand.
board
You,
meeting.
so you absolve responsibility is what I'm hearing.
So, no, not when it's personnel, no.
No slander, no.
No
No slander? An individual, an educator of certain repute at the school was personally attacking children who were, two kids who were special needs and attacking their parents and mocking their parents. I've heard over and over again, educators mock people for not getting vaccinated, asking us their vaccination status. It's ridiculous. They have no right to do it, and you shouldn't be putting them on payroll if they're going to do that. They're public employees, and why at this point should I even pay my taxes if it's going to pay the salaries of teachers who do this? I don't understand it, and it's time that you guys do something about it because you're creating a culture.
I am floored to hear this.
Yes.
I have been a member of
Thank you.
this Lake Central community for 20-some years. I have never met a teacher in this school district that would mock and make fun of kids. Never.
I could give you a 2-page list, single space.
Never, never.
Easily. And one of them
I'm
is the
shocked.
principal.
I'm shocked.
And one of them is
So
the principal.
if that is really happening, that needs to be reported
I would love
to the
to.
school building principal.
More than happily. And
Not here.
Nothing personal, but out of
Not here.
just mere disgust, I can't even believe that anybody would do that and then have the nerve to be paid by the school.
I don't believe it either.
And no, I pray for all of you guys. I honestly think that you're fine people, and I think that you were elected to represent the people. I think that you can do that. So I hope you do something. I don't think that you intended this, but it's created a culture of bullying. It's created a culture where a lot of people feel emboldened to belittle people for their vaccination status, which they're not in any respect allowed to do. It's created this culture of people mocking people. Whenever somebody's out of a mask mandate, teachers absolutely go after them. It's ridiculous. That's all I had to say.
Thank you. Laura Dubish?
Before you start my timer, since I'm 6 feet away from everyone, can I take this down to talk? Thank you. Also, don't start my timer, because I have this perfectly timed tonight.
Could you state your name and address, please?
Yes, but on the mask situation. I don't feel we should have to wear masks to board meetings when the LC Education Foundation had a 5K with an indoor raffle and award ceremony, maskless. It's posted all over social media.
Thank you.
So this I'm not going
Sure.
to wear.
Could you state your name and address, please?
It's Laura Dubish,
Thank you. Address?
8897 Winding Trail, St. John, Indiana.
Thank you.
All right, you tell me when my timer starts because it's important I get through this.
Now,
Dr. Baracco referenced IC 164129 at the last board meeting and said that not following IDOH guidance would be a Class B misdemeanor. Here's what it says. A person who recklessly violates this chapter commits a Class B misdemeanor. Firstly, note the word recklessly. With COVID vaccines, natural immunity, and treatments, is it really reckless to use local data for COVID decision-making? What are the odds a county prosecutor would go after someone for violating a COVID recommendation? And if one did, the prosecutor would have to prove recklessness, and the defendant would be entitled to trial by jury. It is a shame that you do not recognize this as the fear-mongering that it is. In the board bylaws, the school board has the dual responsibility for implementing legal requirements and for meeting the desires of the citizens. We've come to you as an overwhelming majority with our desires. We've pointed out the survival rate of this virus for children is now 99.99%. We've emailed countless number of randomized controlled studies regarding masks and sent protocols of other schools that have been successful without mandates. There's plenty of them. With current LC population data, we've calculated and presented the LC specific infection rate, which is below 0.04% for every week this school year. Also, using the identical formula as the county, our specific LC weekly positivity rate puts us in blue 13 out of 13 weeks this year. Other than Dr. Malkow, not one of you has sought this data or even asked to see the calculations. Without our consent, you have used the vulnerability of our children to want to fit in with their peers and force them to mask during school. Only during school, because COVID is only in school. Oh, and it's only in public schools. You have chosen to fit in and enforce unconstitutional guidance rather than uphold your oath to defend the Constitution. Dr. Veracco, in response to your comment last meeting that authorities of schools not masking think they are smarter than others, they are. Those schools are doing well. They remain united with parents. They are leaders and defenders of the Constitution. I am disappointed that a school like LC chooses to fall in line and follow instead of lead. The CDC and the governor's guidance is not law, but in fact unconstitutional. We do not need to convince you of anything. In the United States, we have constitutional rights, the supreme law, which may not be violated under any circumstances. It is much higher than the recommendations that are unconstitutional by the governor. We are done trying to
15
reason with
seconds.
those unwilling to acknowledge facts. Now we are here to serve legal notice, which makes each one of you liable for violating your oath to uphold the Constitution of Indiana and the United States. You are personally liable to every person who serves this notice. This legal notice
Time.
will be posted on the Lake Central
Thank you.
Facebook page.
Thank you.
And Zorka, you've got the
So with that, we will move on to board comments and consideration of future agenda items. Mr. Marshall. Excuse me. Mr. Marshall.
I have no comment.
Thank you. Mrs. Kelly?
I'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, wonderful. That's it? All right. Dr. Medlin?
No comment, thank you.
Dr. Malco?
Oh, I'm just sitting here thinking and thinking and thinking. And the first young man that spoke about the Constitution, reference to that, you know, the state of Indiana at one point had a Constitution Day in September. I don't know if we still do that or not, where we recognize and talk about the Constitution. We still do, okay. You know, and I do want to restate, I have never in my experience with Lake Central, having been a school administrator here for 10 years and then working here for another 10 in this position, I've never seen that negative. That's one thing that Lake Central, I was always so impressed with Lake Central when I came here from Crown Point, because it was a very supportive and warm environment. It was a safe environment. And I'm just flabbergasted. And again, if you are experiencing that, this is not the venue to deal with it. The venue is to take that concern to the building principal. And
But that is the principal. That is the principal. He has nowhere to go.
what conversation?
Wait,
Oh.
you guys missed a public speaker,
So,
and it wasn't 30 minutes.
you missed a public speaker?
I did not. That public speaker chose not to fill out the correct information on the paper, so don't.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Which is also unconstitutional, you know, we have the right to privacy, and I and we don't have to sign our address or state our name.
Please finish your.
Okay, well, the final comment that I was going to make is that, you know, I think a game plan is very important, and I think that we need to discuss that as a board. And I would like to recommend that that is placed on the agenda for some discussion at the next board meeting. We've talked about it behind the scenes, but we just haven't brought it out, and we do need to talk about it. Hopefully by that time we'll have more direction from the governor. We are tied together, whether you want to believe it or not, and that's. You know what, when you talk about legalities and the
Not other schools.
School Board Association recommends following what we're doing. I understand that, but we're not there yet.
Thank you. Are you done?
And they are also in litigation down there in Indianapolis. So who's the governor being sued by? The two speakers of the House or whatever?
Dr. Melba, I really want to hear your thoughts, so would you please finish uninterrupted?
I would like to have some discussion at the next board meeting. I really would. And we've talked this behind the scenes, but we haven't gotten around to it yet. But I think once we get more direction from the governor, maybe we can talk about it and actually have some comfort in talking about it, knowing that we are not jeopardizing our students, our credibility, accreditation. I don't know, but that's it. I have nothing else to say.
Yes, hopefully that guidance will come at the end of the month. I agree with you. So I would just like to congratulate the marching band on your showing at the Grand National Championship prelims. I know that, there was a couple of videos out there, so if you go to their webpage, it's on there. And I'm looking forward to the winter sports season starting, and happy Thanksgiving to all of you also. So with that, we'll move on to board calendar future events. Mrs. Mucha.
Just a reminder that there's now walking in the field house, entering door C every Monday and Wednesday from 7 to 9. Everyone is welcome. And the High School Fall Sports Award is this Wednesday at 6 p.m. in the auditorium. Lots of good sports starting. Everyone's welcome.
Thank you. And do we have a motion for adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion by Dr. Medlin. Do we have a second by Mrs. Kelly?